Okay. It's good morning, everyone. I think we are still arranging and sorting out some technical problems. That's sometimes happens. We are just waiting for some colleagues to join this panel. I am one of the speakers, and my name is Jorge Molina, working for Navarra region in north of Spain, and it's a pleasure for me to be here with you and to share this panel with the rest of the colleagues that are present here. We have had a group of small talks for everyone that we are now in the panel here, and the idea is to introduce firstly ourselves, and then to give you some ideas of what are we doing in our regions, in our organizations, dealing about this topic. And then we will start a nice discussion between us, and of course trying to get the interaction with you in the panel, and you will be able to use the chat for making questions. So we hope this session will be nice, interactive, and useful for all of you. So I will say some few words from me, and then I will give the floor to my colleagues here in the chat. So my name is Jorge, as said, working for Navarra region, north of Spain. We are a small region located between Aragon and Basque Country, and we are focused on very interesting things dealing with agri-food, with renewable energies, etc. Personally, I'm based in Brussels most of the time because we want to be close to the places where the policies are implemented, and summarizing Aditex at regional level is the coordinator of the whole regional innovation ecosystem. So that's my introduction for me. So maybe I don't know if Matt or the rest of the speakers can introduce themselves. Please.
Okay, who comes first?
You, for example.
Well, we have two ladies here. They
okay, yeah, that's correct. Sorry. So Mira, maybe Mira. We can hear you, Mira. We cannot hear you.
Yes, thank you, Jorge. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, can you hear me? It's Mads talking.
Yes. We are already in the session. We already started.
Yes, and thank you for that. I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on with my. You can't hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Please, Santa, please start. Then I'll get back.
Okay, I was supposed to do also an introduction to myself and to our organization, and then as we're already in this part, and Jorge already introduced to himself and to his organization, then I'm taking this opportunity. So thank you very much. And my name is Santa Vituala. I represent Vidzeme planning region in Latvia. We are one of 5 planning regions in our country, and I must say that as a region, we are definitely one of the most progressive one. And I'm asked here to present our journey towards bioeconomy, because within the last 3 years, we have stepped several really important steps to actually understand and to develop bioeconomy innovation ecosystem in our region. And it asks a lot of proactive work and a lot of energy. And if you're willing to go on this direction as a region, you have to be very creative. But before going deeper into bioeconomy, I will also give a short introduction about our organization and our region for you to understand more the context. And sorry if I will take a bit more time than Jorge, because our moderator said that we have freedom of speech at this moment in the 10 minutes limit. So we are a regional development and planning organization, which at this moment gathers 26 municipalities from our country. And why I'm saying at this moment, because the country is currently under territorial reform. And after the reform, our region will be even bigger. The number of municipalities will be smaller because they will be merged, but the territory will grow. So we are the biggest region and we will continue to be the biggest region in our country. We have a lot of natural resources, especially forests, land, and fresh water. And after the reform, we will also have a direct access to the Baltic Sea. And quite a large coastline will be in our region. So that's a great success. As a region, we are working on both directions, towards national level and also towards municipal and local level. We have several functions coming from the national level, for example, coordination of spatial planning for the regional areas and landscapes. We also coordinate a culture program, we coordinate several social programs, but to develop the region and to actually work towards our development program and strategy, it is simply not enough. Also from the perspective of the funding that we get as for a base. And we have to, and we are really actively working towards attracting funding from outside, from international and cross-border programs. So we could test, try, pilot, elaborate, and to develop. And we are engaged in many international partnerships, and we work towards international projects in fields of tourism, culture, education, energy efficiency, mobility, and especially in entrepreneurship, innovation, and now also bioeconomy. And it is not only a chance for a region to get the funding, it is a great value for us to gain knowledge and experience, to learn from more developed regions, to downscale their best practices, to grow our network even bigger, to benchmark, and then to put all that together to make a region greater. And my journey in our organization is also very closely linked with our journey as a region towards bioeconomy. And it all started a bit more than 3 years ago when we received an invitation to join a partnership with aim to develop bioeconomy ecosystems in regions across the Baltic Sea region. And after it received this positive answer about receiving funding, I stepped in as a project manager. And I must admit that I spent quite many hours to Google what that is. And even if I had like 6 or 7 types of economy within my university studies, I had no idea what is bioeconomy. And the information, especially in our language, was quite poor and mostly talking around the issue, but not exactly explaining it. And shortly after that, the Latvian bioeconomy strategy also was updated. And it served more as a vision document, not having these practical steps and responsibilities. And it all started like that. And with the great support of my colleagues, we got on the right track pretty fast, I think. And our aim was to elaborate the action plan for the development of bioeconomy ecosystem, to actually have this very practical guide, what to do and when to do. And we started with gathering experts and practitioners from the whole Latvia that are working within bioeconomy sector, forestry, food processing, agriculture. We gathered scientists, public sector, policymakers, private companies, and their supporting organizations. We started with understanding the context and with the discussions of what direction should we look at all. We gathered opinions and experiences, information, and in approximately 9 months time, we already had directions which had to be developed further. in a bit more than 2 years, we could finally print out our action plan because it was finalized. And there were many practical activities and preconditions that have to be addressed in order to develop bioeconomy ecosystem. And now, within the 3 years time, after 3 years and 1 month, we have a regional action plan for the development of bioeconomy innovation ecosystem in the region. We have initiated the transformation of our food cluster being upgrading to become a Latvian food bioeconomy cluster, for which, by the way, we're also a co-founders. We have organized bioeconomy innovation forums and seminars. We have brought experts to give lectures on the potential of the resources, on the innovation opportunities, about bioeconomy development opportunities. We have also organized benchmarking trips for ourselves and our companies to several countries. We have elaborated a fresh brochure about bioeconomy innovation cases around Baltic Sea region, including Vidzeme. We have prepared a video material to attract bioeconomy investments. We are co-developers of transnational bioeconomy innovation platform, and we are now engaged in much more bioeconomy related projects and initiatives. We have an opportunity to implement our action plan. And what is very important, we are now working to put together a development program for our region for the next 7 years. And bioeconomy is one of the priorities when it comes to development and innovation. Does everyone in our region now know what is bioeconomy? Definitely not, but we are not able to do so. We need them to know about the opportunities that they have, and I believe that we're on the very good track here. So if you're willing to develop something with or without having a bunch of resources, you just have to do it. So thank you for giving this opportunity to share our story. And as at the beginning there were some technical details, I already stepped ahead of our next task to describe more about the context and organization. So thank you very much, and back to you, Matt.
We can hear you, Matt.
Yes. We can hear you. No.
Maybe Neda, you can start.
Yes, I think it's a good idea. Okay, let's just go on. I hope that Mats will solve these problems. My name is Nenad Starac. I'm an emeritus at the Institute of Economics, Zagreb. And for many years now, I've been into island research, island policies, and whatever issue there is about islands. It's a brave new science of mesology, which is gaining momentum across islands and archipelagos of the world. And I'm particularly attracted by this session because it's about the locked development potential of remote regions. And we should discuss, I suppose, how to unlock this potential. And we'll certainly do that, but there is a point that we should discuss first. And because there's a question, should this potential be unlocked at all? Because there are voices claiming that the answer is no. If we unleash the potential, as they put it, then it may harm, or it will certainly harm the environment. It'll spoil any chances for sustainable development. It will attack local communities. It destruct the social structure of the region, etc., etc. And true, there are enough examples of such remote regions that whose development was jeopardized to a high extent. And well, I don't agree with that, simply because the global economic growth spreads and it'll capture remote regions sooner or later. So we just sit and suppose that the market will solve for the whole issue, and in some neoliberal fashion, we will just contribute to such a destruction of remote regions. So the answer is yes, we have to unlock this potential, but then the immediate next question is, how are we going to do that? And the answer, of course, is that such remote regions should develop towards resilience, towards sustainable use of scarce resources, and of course, with the full participation of local population in the planning decisions and in the decisions making in general. And the answer is not simple, however, because there are many remote regions and they differ a lot. We find them in mountains, we find such regions in plains, in marshes, and of course on islands, particularly on small islands. And these small islands appear as micro regions, most of them remote with locked developed potential. And the first thing that comes to mind is that if this potential is to be unlocked, the small islands cannot do it themselves. They cannot do it alone. There ought to be a policy, a regional policy that will provide for the sustainable development of small islands and islands in general, particularly near islands, those close to the coast. And well, unfortunately, most of the island policies in the world are mainland-made island policies, policies that start from an a priori assumption that islands are mere extensions of the mainland, meaning that whatever there is on a mainland exists also on islands. There's no much difference between the two, and the only thing that matters here is the so-called island handicap, because there is this sea between the mainland and the islands, and it has to be crossed all the time, and this puts islands in an unfavorable position. And the entire policy is designed to overcome this so-called island handicap. And the final goal of such policies is, in fact, de-insularization. At the point when when we have made islands equal to the mainland, we at the point where we have equalized all the differences, we will achieve the main goal of the policy, but we will also be in an internal contradiction, because it's an island policy of de-insularization. And if we do that, then we lose islands, actually. We lose islandness, we lose all the island specificities, and instead of unlocking the potential, we are in fact killing a good part of the island potential. And such policies, most of them are ill-conceived, and true enough, Croatian island policy has been such in the last 20 years, but until recently, it was the case. And we must admit that the new Island Act calls for a different island policy, which improved and advanced island policy. There are provisions for islandness, there are provisions for small islands in a special development situation, and there are provisions about smart islands, which is a new concept, a very promising concept for the islands. Smart islands is, by the way, it has nothing to do with non-stupidity, it's just an acronym saying that it's sustainable, achievable, manageable, and etc. But the Smart Island is a resilient island. It's self-sustained, and the resources that are used there are used in a sustainable manner. And such islands, amongst other things, are very good testing grounds for new technologies. We are talking about green technologies, of course, about technologies of sustainable use of resources. And the small islands have built an environment which is very good for such testing of such technologies, simply because in the course of centuries, the islanders lived and had to survive with very scarce natural resources and without expecting any help from anywhere else. And they have built skills of sustainable development. They have been considerable skills of survival, and they still possess such things and such skills. And so that's why these islands are good testing grounds, because if a new technology, which is to be tested and then implemented, if it passes the test on a small island, then it's obviously applicable elsewhere too, because this test was done under very harsh conditions and with islanders that know how to survive under such conditions. And so there is islands here appear as an active laboratory. And after such technologies are tested, they can be upscaled and they can be then applied on bigger islands, on the mainland, and particularly in small cities. Small smart islands and smart cities go together very, very well. This is almost what is here claimed as an industrial symbiosis. I see it as a spatial symbiosis between two smart agents, so to say. And islands here appear as an active laboratory, which is very, very good for its development. For centuries, islands were considered as good laboratories for scientific research. Anthropology cut its teeth on islands, and Darwin started first, etc., because there are very good controlled conditions there. And so, but islands were passive in this role. In fact, they didn't have a role at all. But now this is an active role for the islands, and very, very good path of triggering the development potential of a remote region. A very good example. Well, I think it's good enough for the discussion. I suppose I spent my 10 minutes already. So let's leave the rest for the discussion. Technical troubles again?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I do. I can.
Good. Thank you. Wonderful. And thank you. And sorry for all the troubles. I simply don't know what's happening. But anyways, I hope it works now. So I've just agreed with the technical support that they will show the PowerPoint presentation. And sorry, Nenad, I didn't hear your presentation, but I have been speaking to you lately, so I have a good idea, I think, of what you have been talking about. The same goes for you, Santa. Anyways, let me just get a few minutes to do my introduction remarks that I was supposed to do in the beginning. And sorry for that. We have to freestyle it a little bit, but I think we'll be okay. Anyways, my name is Mads Randbøl Wolf. I'm a Danish citizen. I was born and raised on the Danish island of Bornholm, which is to the eastern part of Denmark, south of Sweden, north of Poland, but belonging to Denmark. So I'm an islander myself. What we're going to do today is to discuss a very important question, in my opinion, and that is a question on how can we actually use and transfer all the efforts done with green transition, with transition to bioeconomy, to circular economy, industrial symbiosis, etc., and use that to make a change for remote regional, and rural regions. The thing is that we very often talk about sustainable urban development, but we do not talk about sustainable rural development. And I think that's a quite interesting thing, an observation. How can we talk about sustainable development if it's only going on in the urban regions and not in the rural regions? So I think this is what we need to talk about. We also need to keep in mind something that the OECD talked about many years ago. Back in 2006, they did a report talking about the new rural paradigm. They claimed, based on studies of the existing rural development policies, that they were mainly based on a compensation paradigm, meaning that you're compensating for the loss of economic activities in rural communities. And then they said, what we need to do is to install a new paradigm, a new rural paradigm, based on investment in the regions, in the rural communities. The big question then is, how do you actually do that? And I think we already got some examples of that, and we'll get even more examples of that. How do we actually make that investment, and how do we use that to create resilient remote regions? Of course, when OECD talked about their paradigm back in 2006, we did not talk about resiliency. So resiliency is a kind of new word that only adds to the discussion and adds to the need of introducing new concepts and a new way of looking at what's going on outside the urban communities. Because if we are to achieve sustainable development, we must not forget remote regions or rural communities or coastal communities. It's a part of the package. It's a part of the deal. And therefore, I'm happy to have this very fine lineup of a great panel today. And you already heard Santa from Latvia. I've known Santa for some years now. We have been working together in the Baltic Sea region, and I've seen how she has developed from being a newcomer to be almost a leading expert in Latvia on the question on bioeconomy seen from a regional perspective, and by the question on how do we actually create place-based development. What are the actual conditions and challenges in our region, or how can we translate them into action? And then Nenad Starch from Croatia, as you just listened to, talking about smart islands and development in small-scale communities and remote communities, remote islands. Then we will have Jorge Molina, as I saw also took over part of my role in the beginning, and thank you for that, Jorge. I'm very happy for that. You are from the Navarra region in Spain. It's the northern part of Spain. And you are based in Brussels, representing the region, also taking part in the Erin network. I guess if you didn't present that earlier, you'll do it when you get the word in a few minutes. It's a slightly different region. It's not as remote as we see from Latvia and Croatia, but also in the context of Spain, not the center. Then we have Mira Lepur, who is director of the, I'm sorry if the pronunciation is not correct, Chibenic County Development Agency. And working with a bit like Santa, with local development plans based on these different kind of concepts of bioeconomy, circular economy, and so on. Altogether, I think one interesting point is that something is happening in remote and rural regions. There's a change. It's not just random what's done. It's more thought through. It's based on the same kind of concepts. And there's an expression of how the global discussions, the global dilemmas, challenges, etc., are applied in a local context. And I think the key word there is that each of you represent strong ideas on how to create place-based development by using different concepts. You're not trying to do, as we see other places, to adapt to or to develop plans with what is bioeconomy, what is circular economy, and so on, and then stay in your silos. You're trying to adapt that to how can that be of benefit in your regions. So, well, I've been looking forward to this day and to this discussion, because I think you have 4 very good representatives of different parts of Europe that can give us all better ideas on how can we actually use the potential and unlock the potential, as you also put it, Ninat, in the remote regions. So this is a question for today. How do we actually do that? And how do we use all these concepts and thinking to increase on a sustainable way the economic activities everywhere, also in the remote regions? So thank you for being patient with me and my lack of technological security and uncertainty. I think I've given my words of introduction, and I also introduced the panel. So it's a little bit different than originally expected, but here we are. One more thing I need to say is that we also have a what I would call a keynote listener. It's in the program. It's called a rapporteur, and that is Slađana from the University of Split. She is assistant professor at the university. I think also she's a former student of Ninat, so they are well familiar. But she will be listening to all the presentations and the discussions, and in the end, she will help me. Putting up 4 key points, 4 key takeaways from today that we'll present for the overall organization committee for the conference, and they will include that in the final remarks of the conference later today. Slađana Pavlinović-Mirčić is listening to us, and she will assist me in presenting the key findings in the end. Then don't forget audience. I've seen there are some of you, and we're happy for that. Please use, as also said in the Q&A, that you can post your questions, and I then will look at them and bring them into the discussion. So we'll now continue to, I think we will have Jorge and then Mira, and following that, we'll have a short discussion between the panelists before we open the floor for questions from the audience. So please, dear audience, bring on your questions so we can include them in the discussions. Enough for me for the time being. Thank you. Jorge, if you will take over, please. And then we need to change to the following slides, Josip.
Slides, but if they are there, it's fine. If not, I can talk about them. Yes, for the audience, to say that it's good to mention that I am here with a, let's say, double hats, because I'm working for the Navarra region, for the regional innovation ecosystem in the field of circular bioeconomy and other areas, but also, as most of my time is here in Brussels, I also am a very active member of different networks and panels dealing with bioeconomy. For example, the EU stakeholders panel of the European Commission of DG Research that is ending this year after 4 years of working. During the last 8 years, we had 2 panels from 2012 to 2016 and 2016 to 2020 now. So I will tell a little bit about this experience that I think is very nice to share with you, and how we try to connect this activity in Brussels in this panel of the European Commission, stakeholders panels, with our region and with our activities in the field of circular bioeconomy. So, as you see in the slide, I will say a few words about the region. I think it's a small region, 600,000 inhabitants, located in the north of Spain. It bordered with France, between Aragon and Basque Country, and in some way we could say that we are remote because we are in that corner. So, but okay, we are more or less well connected. But we have sometimes these things in mind that if you are not in the center, you are, let's say, remote in some cases. The good thing of Navarra is fortunately we have an important industrial activity, and we could bring industries. I'm talking about 30 years ago, 40 years ago, to the region, to a remote region, because different policies were implemented. So there was a clear objective, there was a clear policy addressing, for example, renewable energies, and now Navarra is one of the leading regions in Spain and in Europe in wind power, and not also that, also in the number of SMEs or companies or multinationals that are working, and they have their facilities there in the region. So it's important to have a vision. It's important to match this vision with a policy, with a constant policy over the years. And of course, you need research and innovation. You need talent. You need people that can work in the region. You need to attract talent from other European regions to work with you. So that's a lesson learned from the past, that in our case, and especially in this field of renewable energies, wind energy, for example, mainly, there was a clear objectives and pathway to try to be that not too much remote. In this case, Navarra, I am connected now with my role in ERRIN. Navarra is member of ERRIN. ERRIN is the European network of innovative regions in Europe. ERRIN is a Brussels-based network, very, very active, very, very interesting, very happy to collaborate with them. And it's divided in different working groups, ERRIN. ERRIN has around 120 members, around 120 members, ERRIN. I mean, 120 different regions from Europe, 20 countries. And the activity of ERRIN is divided in different working groups. And one of them is ICT, one of them is health, another one is policy, and the one I'm co-leading is bioeconomy and circular bioeconomy. So we are 4 regions working in this group: Pays de la Loire in France, West Finland, and a group of different regions that are working on that, and Sweden, from Sweden also, our colleagues from Sweden. So 4 regions co-leading this working group. So in that sense, in the network of ERRIN, we organize activities. We try to organize workshops, write policy documents, or to try to white papers, let's say, trying to influence, and mostly trying to take the voice of the members of ERRIN, some of them remote regions, of course, in the area of bioeconomy, to put that on the paper and to put that paper in front of the European Commission to try to make our voice clear in that sense. So I am very happy to work and to share moments with my colleagues in this network of ERRIN. And I suggest all the audience, if all the people that are you listening, to have a look to the website of ERIN and see if your regional offices here in Brussels or organizations can join and can do something in the network. I think it's really interesting. So Navarra is one of the regions belonging to ERIN, and other Brussels-based networks that are really interested in working in bioeconomy, such as Vanguard Initiative, that I'm not going to talk about that now. From the point of view of Navarra itself, there is a slide there. You can see it. You can see it on the corner. I put that different images of documents that we in the region we have developed. The idea is to show you to express you that the interesting thing is to try to align the different policies. So we have here on the left a document that is dealing with the position of Navarra and different actions of Navarra in regarding the sustainable development goals. So we analyze what are the different regional plans that we have and how they connect with the sustainable development goals. So, and see if we are in some way, from the practical point of view, the action plans Santa mentioned in her presentation, they are developing action plans. So it's important to see if there is a match between the actions that you are doing at the regional level with something so important as the sustainable development goals. So this is an overarching umbrella of policy and activities that is really interesting. Under this umbrella, it's important in order to try to unlock the potential of the region, and one of the ideas to unlock is having this coherent framework of policies and action plans that support either innovation and research, also the industry or rural areas, for example. I have to say that Navarra is a very nice region, and it's curiously because in the north it's bordered with France in the Pyrenees, and in the south the climate is totally different. So we have forestry in the north and we have agri-food production in the south. So you can see a lot of different potential from the forestry point of view and from the agri-food point of view. So after you have this agenda 2030 for sustainable development in the region, the important thing is also to have specific action plans regarding something. And something means waste management. You see there the residues plan of Navarra 2017-27, or the roadmap for the fighting the climate change at a regional level, or the agenda for circular economy in the region. When you have this umbrella and this framework of different policies and action plans that are more or less trying to be the more coherent as possible, of course, you have to implement instruments of funding. So we have, it's written on the right part of the slide, funding instruments for collaborative innovation. So you have to promote and to catalyze the innovation and help SMEs to work on these areas. And important is one thing that we think that it's important to unlock the potential of a region, a remote region, is the internal collaboration. So we already set up different financial instruments. I mean, the government, the regional government, financial instruments to promote the collaboration between the different entities at different levels. I mean, RTOs, research and technology centers, plus universities, plus SMEs or industries. So you can. It's important, and you give extra points if if the consortium, the regional consortium, is encouraging this internal collaboration. So this collaboration at regional level, trying to move forward through this, moving ideas and products that are, let's say, at lower in lower levels of TRL. This internal collaboration is promoted to get products closer to the market. Because one thing that we are missing in bioeconomy and circular bioeconomy is the access to market. So this is an idea. The access to market is important because not the products won't be in the market. So it's important, that point. So just a few words more. Yes, and finalizing, I would like to mention some initiatives of projects. So as I mentioned, the internal collaboration, regional collaboration, it's important also the external collaboration, I mean European projects or international projects. So initiatives like Excalibur, Percal, or LIFE projects are really important to promote this innovation potential, to try to unlock the regional potential of every region. So that's my last words. And yeah, if you want to unlock the potential in your region, you have to deal with a coherent and constant framework of action plans or policies, but also you need to have soldiers, and the soldiers are researchers and industries and people that are willing to work on these fields. Thank you.
Thank you, Jorge. I hope you can hear me now.
Yes.
I was kicked out of the room again, but I think I've solved the problem now. I hope, at least. Anyways, thank you for your presentation. I didn't hear it all, but I've heard it before, and I know your points, which are good. I think we'll just move on now to Mira from Croatia, and if you just introduce yourself and give your presentation. Thank you.
I can hear you.
Can't hear you, Mira. No. Josip, can you see if there's a problem? Maybe I'll just Mira and Josip, if you can try to fix the problem, and then I can just say a few words. Well, some of you have been talking about funding. I think that goes back to some of the things that I said in the beginning. Perhaps the funding is not designed well enough to meet the requirements and needs in remote regions. Some of you said, I think Santa, you talked about we need more funding, but the question is, don't we have sufficient funding? Is it not rather a question of having the wrong starting point for the fund?
No. Okay, I think we can continue. I have a question for Santa, or maybe Mats.
Yeah, do you hear me now?
Yeah, yes, okay.
Good. Sorry, I lost the sound and I had to refresh. Anyways, thank you, Mira. I think you had a very good question. If we want to unlock the potential, you could say, as a follow-up on that and looking at the overall picture, do we really want to unlock the potential? Is that what we actually are facing, a political will, a societal will to do that? I would doubt that sometimes, seeing on how things are working. Anyways, I think we just need to say that if we want to achieve something new, then we also need to do something new. We can't just continue doing what we have always been doing. And I think all the four of you in different ways demonstrate that you are ready to think in different ways and you are actually doing new things. I mean, Santa, who just started working with bioeconomy 3 years ago and so on. And I think you all demonstrate a will to do different things and do it in a new way and more structured, more holistic, and with a starting point in your regions. Nina, you talked about the smart islands and use them as the islands as test laboratories. And we also the other day talked about the word of scaling. And I think that might be one of the issues we should discuss, because normally when we talk about scaling and we talk about the value of startups and so on, we judge them by their capability of being scaled up to become big companies and big businesses. But is that applicable in remote communities? Or should we talk about scaling fitted to the context? I mean, what if it is not necessary to scale up and create a business on 100 employees, but the value actually rests in creating a number of small businesses that have scaled the activity? I don't know if you can elaborate a bit on that, Ninat, the scaling, and the rest of you, please also fill in. No, we can't hear you, Ninat.
Sorry, it's my fault. It was my fault. Such technologies are all aimed at sustainable development, and fortunately, most of them are very elastic in terms of scale. A solar panel can be put on a small boat, can be put on a roof, or you can do something very big, and a solar plant which produce enough electricity for a medium-sized town, etc. So, but these always need testing because it's all new, and they need a harsh environment to be tested. And it's a type of technology that can be downscaled and upscaled. So I see no technological problems in that. Okay. And only the point is that it has to be tested well, and the islands appear as a good places for that. If this answers your question.
Yeah, it does. It's your question, your answer. Anyone else want to contribute on this issue? Mira? Please go ahead. We don't hear you. We don't hear you either, Santa. Anyone who can say something that we can actually listen to? Jorge?
Can you hear me? Yes?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, just a few words. I think I agree with Professor Nether. Especially in islands. I love islands. I grew up in an island.
Which one?
Mallorca.
Oh, Mallorca.
It's not very remote, I would say. So yeah, but it's true there is a lot of value undercovered, I would say. Everyone is thinking about tourism, of course, but there is a lot of bioproducts, agriculture, organic food, a lot of things that you need, and that are connected with a more real or anchored economy to an island, for example, this one or others. And yeah, I think politicians and innovators need to think out of the box and try to think in a long-term strategy and not just seeing what they have, what we have in our hands in this moment. So the good thing is, as I mentioned for Navarra, is also to think in the medium long-term strategy that gives a steady and a stable output at the end.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a question back to how can we use the technology to increase the value, the local value creation, and bringing the value creation closer to the source. And for that we need technology. Mira, I don't think we can not hear you in center. No.
I can try.
Okay, Santa, please go ahead.
Oh, perfect. It works now. About the scaling, I wanted to comment a bit, because when we started to look around what is happening and what can we do and where could we go, it was all about scaling and not about upscaling but downscaling. Because when we saw what is happening out there in those regions, for example, one of the first regions which we benchmarked was bio-based Delta in the Netherlands, which is really well developed bioeconomy region, or meta cluster. We understood that it will ask 20, 30 more years to be there, and we don't know whether we actually want to be there, because we have this opportunity to learn from their mistakes as well. So we had to understand and see what suits the best for our region, and therefore we had to build also the activities and our kind of actions based on good practices, but what suits us and at what starting points are we, and how actually well can we develop that. So that is something about the scale.
Okay.
Mads, and now we don't hear you. Tamira, if you can try.
Yes, Mira, please.
Now?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Go ahead.
So I think the secret is that we have to refresh it each, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes. I just wanted to tell, because I'm also here in the agency, we are dealing with European funds. And in fact, there is one very good measure in the program of rural development, but I think that this measure is common for all European states. It's called LEADER. And from this measure, we have established local action groups. So local action groups are, I would say this is one of the things how things can go well on rural area, because local action groups are groups that consist of private and public stakeholders, and in fact they have funds from European Union to give to local farms, but also to some small municipalities and some other rural stakeholders just on the local level. So I think this is a nice way how people can cooperate on the local level, and how their service, how a local action group can provide tailor-made services to local farms, for example. Because this is all about downscaling to their needs, because you need to have people who will really go to that farm, who will see what is their situation, who will provide them with some advices, who will provide them with some agricultural advices, or I don't know, aquaculture advices, because we have also a local action group on coastal area in Croatia. So I think we really need to go there to speak with those people on the local level, with small farms, and advise them how to develop their businesses.
Thank you, Mira. I hope you can hear me now.
Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you. It's very interesting, this one. I'll get back to you in a minute, Nenad, because this is about how can we actually do it. Jorge, you talked a little bit about the regional value chains, and we got actually, I think, one interesting question from the audience, which was, what would be the best way to share experiences between remote regions, especially islands, regarding sustainable development? I think that's a very good and interesting question, because it points at, if we are to achieve, if we are to unlock the potential, then perhaps it's time to stop referring for the best examples, as you referred to, Santa. The bio delta in Holland and Belgium is not the case that should be copied into the remote regions. But how do we create best cases that we can share? So how do we start talking between different remote regions? How do we start to exchange best cases and work together on that area? So back to the question from the audience: what would be the best way to share these experiences between remote islands, regions, especially islands? Yes. How do we actually do that? Nenad?
Yes, may I? What we need here is some coordination body, some association, NGO, or whatever, which will get the islands together, which will pass the information from island to island, and create a platform in which all the experiences can be seen, and so that islanders can get in touch with them. That's the point is that islanders are not keen of much cooperation between the islands. We are talking about near islands, and all of them are they are much inclined to the cooperation with the mainland, and not the inter-island cooperation. So that's why we need this coordinating body. And if this is an agency, and Mira has partly answered this question, if this is an agency, it also should work as a platform where all these experiences are available for islanders. So in this way, the experiences can be shared.
So you're suggesting a European agency for remote region development?
I am suggesting something on a lower level, on the level of the archipelago and on the level of regional development agencies.
Mm. Yeah. Okay.
This European level is sometimes so high that they do not see much from that height.
Well, they are at least not working in the right context. Mira?
Just to say that there are already a cooperation established between countries in Europe. And we have a cross-border, for example, projects with Italy, also with Bosnia and Herzegovina, with Montenegro, with some other European countries. So this is also very a nice way to establish, to share experiences with other countries. If you was thinking on that, because I understood your question, how to share experiences between countries. This is on a, let's say, European level. On a local and regional level, on the country level, we are all very well, how to say, connected. Regional agencies are talking between themselves. They are cooperating with the regional agencies from Adriatic Croatia, from the whole coast. I have regular meetings. So on a national level, it works, but I think it would be good. For example, what Santa Vitola said, I would like to hear something from your country, you know. I would like to hear something from Spain. I would like to hear something from Danish islands. And I think this would be a real added value for us. And what I can suggest that we plan some study trips, because study trips are always, and I invite you also to come and visit us. But this is a great way to talk with each other and to establish some human connections, and to really go into detail to understand what are the challenges in each region.
Okay, from my point of view, I would say that firstly, take the initiative internally, collaborate among the different interested parties or stakeholders in that region or that island. Identify your strengths and define what do you want, and then after you have organized internally, you can go outside and try to connect with other regions using the platforms that were already mentioned, or EU projects like Interreg Europe, or initiatives that, for example, DG Regio in the European Commission has established in the past to create this inter-regional value chains, for example. So I see it in a very simplistic way, these two steps, so to organize first internally and then try to connect outside. And you have tools, you have a lot of instruments and tools to do both things. And I think people will enjoy the process, and that's the important thing, to enjoy during the process, and then the success is guaranteed.
Okay.
We don't hear you, Mats. We can't hear you now. I think Nenad, you can. I think you were about to say something, right?
Yes,
Professor?
Yes. Let's hope that Mats will hear us.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Hear me now?
Go on, Mats.
Okay, thank you. Well, we are coming to an end. We have only 9 minutes left. But I just wanted to pick up on what some of you said, because we do actually have some instruments already existing. We have the LEADER program, the local action groups, we have Interreg programs. We have, for some parts of Europe, we have the European Union macro-regional strategies. That goes for the Baltic Sea region, which was the first one. We have one for the Danube region. We have one for the one you talked about, Mira, the Ionic region, and then a couple of more. The question is, are we good enough using those instruments, or are we just sitting back doing what we have always done instead of catalyzing new ways of working together and so on? And that might also be the lesson for ourselves and what we need to work with ourselves in our different regions. How can we actually do this and use those instruments in a better way, not just do what we have been expected to do always? Mira, a comment for that?
I think you raised a very good question, and but I think the problem with these programs and with those macro strategies is that the way how they are programmed. I think they should concentrate more on solving issues with smaller stakeholders, because if they are solving issues with public stakeholders, this is not all. We really have to think on smaller stakeholders in this value chain. Those are small farms, small rural enterprises in rural areas, in coastal parts, on islands. So there are many of those small stakeholders, maybe 80 to 90%. And more funding needs to be orientated toward real sector. I know this is a big problem in the European Union and big problem with state aid, but maybe this platform here or is also an occasion to mention it and to face it, and maybe in the future to solve it.
Thank you, Mira. We are slightly coming to an end of this session, and I'm so sorry for the technical problems. I hope you, the audience, have had a good experience despite that. Anyways, I'll try to conclude a bit, and then we'll have just a few minutes after that for a final remark from you guys. I have been assisted by Sladana Pavlinovic-Mircic from the University of Split, where she's an assistant professor at the Faculty of Economics, Business and Tourism. I think what we have seen today from you four panelists is very good examples of that something has changed during the last years. It's not the same situation anymore. When I grew up and in the 90s and the zeros, I think there was some places a tendency to say the situation is very bad, send more money. It was clear evidence of the compensation thinking. We need to be compensated. But I think what you have demonstrated, the four of you, is that you don't think in compensation. You think in actual to do something and to start to think in a different way by having a starting point in what your region can do. What are the resources available? How are the infrastructure? What are the people there and the competences and so on? I think that's a very good change that we have been seeing, and you all have demonstrated in a very fine way. For me, that's a recipe for achieving resiliency in remote regions. And I think you also demonstrated it's time to stop compensating, and it's time to start investing in remote communities. And we do have to remember that the center, that's not in Brussels, in Zagreb, in Copenhagen. The center, that is where people live, and that where people likes to be and likes to live their life. So we need to change the concept of center and periphery. We are all in our own center, and we can do something from there on. Sladjana and I have identified a few points, key takeaways. I'll try to present them now. And the first one is a question: do we really want to unlock the potentials of remote regions? I think the answer should be, of course, yes, we will. But there are still some obstacles for that, because we have structural challenges. We have a traditional way of looking at center and periphery, and we have still a major focus on urban sustainable development, not rural sustainable development. We need to change that, and we need to insist that development in remote and rural communities also needs to be sustainable. Otherwise, we'll not achieve sustainable development at all. But how do we unlock the resources of the remote regions? I think there's a good point saying that remote regions cannot unlock it themselves alone. They have a great responsibility in this, and you demonstrated that you're really ready to take it. But they need a policy, an overall policy framework, which is not just an extension of the large-scale urban policies, because this will result in a loss of unique remote regions' resources. If we don't accept that it can have great value to create a small business in a remote region, then how can we achieve anything? If we can only appreciate large-scale developments. Design of funding schemes needs to be approached from the point of view of remote regions. We need to stop thinking in specific silos, and we need to think across different businesses, different interests, and so on. And first of all, what is actually possible in the specific region. I think the key word for this session about bioeconomy, circular economy, industrial symbiosis, and so on are quite good in this way, because if we think about them and we use them and implement them in our work, then we can actually use them to promote place-based development. And I think that's a very good and first step to take. Yeah, and then just to get back to one of my favorites, quoting the OECD for their work on a new rural paradigm. I think that is key. We need to stop thinking about compensating, and we need to start talk about all the values and resources that potential remote regions do hold, as you in different ways have demonstrated in a very fine way. It is needed to look at place-based development and how to put in local resources and strengthhold. Something you all have been pointing at also, exchange of relevant benchmarks, best practices between remote regions. We should not look from remote regions to the center, to the large-scale communities to get the inspiration for the next practice in remote regions. We should look to other remote regions or other rural communities to get the inspiration and be able to ask the right questions. How do we stress that? How do we do that? That is a question we have touched on today, and I think we need to focus even more on. And I think it's wonderful to be in a room where we from different parts of Europe can talk about this, and we need to continue that. So I hope this is also something that the Wire 21 will take on board, that we continue to discuss that across remote regions throughout Europe. Then I would like to stress one of the points from Nenad, remote regions, small islands. Look at them as test laboratories. We can do a lot of things there, easy and so on, but it needs to be acknowledged, and we need to have people coming from outside also to see that and to use that. Then one final thing that we haven't touched upon today is I can't help thinking that, of course, COVID-19, that's not a good situation.
We lost you.
We lost you, yeah.
I'm back. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
This is final remarks, and then I'm cut off. Well,
we knew that you would be back.
Yeah. Well, COVID-19. I think using a Brussels word or sentence, what I have heard several times participating in meeting and conferences in Brussels is that we need to create a level playing field. Do we actually have catalyzed this development with regard to the relation between urban and rural communities? It's no longer a prerequisite that you need to be present in Brussels or in Zagreb or Copenhagen or Riga, or you can be present wherever you are as long as you have a connection. We have seen today that might cause some problems, but still, maybe we have by COVID-19 started to look at cooperating in different ways. We have dialogues across regions, across remote regions. We have been preparing this session, the five of us, using digital instruments. In my daily work, I talk with people from all over the Baltic region. I talk with people in the North Atlantic region. We do it all digital. Does that create something new for us? I believe it does. I believe this is something we have been talking about for many, many years, but now only because of COVID-19, this has actually been turned into real action. So something good came out of COVID-19. A lot of bad things, but this one I think is very good for promoting regional development, because it's not anymore necessary to travel and be in the capitals. Development starts where you are, where we are. The center is where we are. I think that would be my final comments on this session today. And we are running over time, but I think maybe we should just steal a few minutes if you have a final comment from the panel. No, Santa?
I could use this opportunity and to say, because I also heard a lot of comments about funding and about receiving European funding from various programs. And there were also some critics about the funding and about the amount of the funding. But what I want to say is that if you as a region or as an organization, if you have a clear vision where to go, and if you have an idea what you want to develop, then you just have you just need a good team, and you just have to do it. Because attracting funding from outside is, of course, an enormous opportunity for regions. And in our case, we would be happy if we get this funding from the national level, for example, because then we wouldn't have to use so much resources to actually take that European funding to work towards projects, to develop the ideas, and to prepare the proposals and everything else. We would have this money already, but we do not see at this moment that it's a big problem, because we have found our way how to deal with it. And to put that on the plate, it's the funding that we have attracted from the European programs is 7 times bigger in the last 5 years than we received from the national level. So it is a lot, and you must do a lot. But to do that with a clear aim and clear direction, and not run after the funding, but actually try to suit the funding that is out there to the needs that you have and the vision that you have. And then it all makes sense. If you have the strategy and you can find a good funding opportunity out there, then why do you not use that? It's a great. So I see that that's a big potential for the regions, and especially also in these international partnerships, as I mentioned before, it's a big opportunity to learn from each other. And I agree, Tamira, about the benchmarkings. It also gave a big, wide open eye view to us ourselves as well, when we saw what is happening in other parts of the Europe. Thank you.
Thank you, Santa, for those final remarks. I don't know if another from the panel will have a final comment, or.
In my case, just say that remote regions are not isolated, and they have an important potential of collaboration outside.
Thank you, Jorge. Good. I think we have come to an end, and I think what we have seen today is quite interesting. We have regions that want something, that wants to do something and actually do it. And just to quote an old Roman thinker, Seneca the Younger, who said many years ago, luck is what happens when preparations meet opportunity. And I think you have all shown and demonstrated today that you are well prepared. Now we just need to put that into the many opportunities that will arise from now on and into the future. So thank you all. It has been a pleasure to moderate the session, despite all the technical challenges, but I think we managed together to have a quite good, lively discussion. So thank you, and hope to see you one day all in Split in Croatia.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Goodbye.
you.